What's up, people of the world? It is Pat Hilton, producer Pat. I am here with Sky and Kristen, and this is the Outsider Nation Coffee podcast entitled The Road Less Traveled. Why? Because the road less traveled is the road that we're on in this entrepreneur business, personal journey of development and, making our dreams and visions a reality. So what's up, guys? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Pat. How you doing, brother?
Doing really well. I am here in Dallas, Texas, and you guys are in
Virginia, of all places.
Virginia. So it's a beautiful thing. We met at an event at the Real Empire event and had this idea of kind of putting out our message together because there is a coffee brand involved and everybody loves coffee, right? So we're drinking our coffee and we've got our own little show that we're starting, and there's going to be YouTube and podcast. If you want to listen on audio, go subscribe. I'll have all the channels up by the time you all see this. So make sure to give us a follow and a like and a share and a subscribe, and tell all your friends, tell your mom, tell your grandma. We're going to keep it clean. I mean, there's dogs in the background. It's all part of the family here.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I mean about the whole real movement thing. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you got involved with that real movement and how it kind of opened you up to starting your own movement?
All right. So for me, I had been involved with corporate world type stuff. I was always working for somebody else all the time, never really had a whole lot of freedom with stuff. I had a set salary. If I had a commission thing, I could only go so high and so forth. And for me, it didn't really adhere to me anymore. I was tired of, people constantly pushing me into the ground with the hours that I would work only to get chump change and things like that. And one day I was just like, man, this is not the road that I want to travel. I want to make sure that I can make something of myself. I can have financial freedom. I can do whatever the hell I want, basically. And this is one of the hardest spaces to get into when we're talking about coffee and podcasts now. And even real estate, the other thing that I'm, involved in right now, that's a lot of saturated markets, and people are constantly cutthroat with stuff. They're always wanting to get an edge. But the thing is, they want everything for free, basically, and they want everything done for them. And that's another thing that I personally don't believe in, is if you want something, you're going to have to work for it. You can't just assume that there's going to be a button that you push that's going to be like, oh, I'm going to push this button right here and everything's going to be hunky-dory. I'm going to be a millionaire and stuff like that. So when you see these people on Instagram, see them on Facebook, all the social media outlets, people are talking about they're making millions by doing the littlest work possible. And the reality of that is it's just not facts, man. Everything you got to do takes time, it takes effort, and it takes a lot of money. That's the other thing people don't realize. It takes a lot of money to start businesses that you want. And we're currently involved with 2 businesses that we're trying to get up and started, a real estate. Sorry, 3. I'm sorry about that. 3. And, having less money coming in at times to try to push forward everything can be extremely stressful. But at the same time, you want to make sure that, if your heart's behind it, if you have passion for it, nothing is going to stop you. And I don't think that there's enough of that in our space personally. And we just kind of said, we've had enough of that. We want to help people, but at the same time, we want to push the message out there that there is a lot of work to do to be in the spots that a lot of these people that you may look up to, they put in the work. They did everything. It's not just some magical pill, or they weren't blessed with something. Like, people actually have to work, and that's kind of what we're doing. I was just tired of everything, so I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
That's kind of what we all have in common, is that, we figure that, there's not a lot out there of seeing the day-to-day struggles that happen from starting a business. A lot of times it's that coming backwards from, I've made the success. Now let me tell you about where I've come from. This is kind of our chance to show people kind of what it does, not only to us as individuals, the business, our relationships, all of those things.
Yeah, it's kind of like the come up. I love how wifey corrected you too and said 3.
That's what I'm here for.
That's why
That's
she's
beautiful.
Good, man. I mess up so much, and she's right there literally to hit me in the back of the head and just be like, you need to get your crap straight, basically.
Hey, and that's a beautiful thing, because the cool thing about this whole thing is everybody deals with it. And when you start a podcast, people always ask these questions like, well, who's your target audience and what's your focus? And you really got to make sure that you zero in on that niche so that you can send them to a funnel and blah, 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 blah. And that's all great. And I think that when we had that conversation, it's like, man, this is for everyone from moms to business owners to people that are on their way to work, that people that just want to get in their head that, they're showing up to get it in. We're entrepreneurs, we're starting businesses and stuff, but we want everyone to know that like personal development is a huge side of being successful at anything, And, my wife is not a business entrepreneur, boss babe chick, but she gives me trouble for all the boss babe chicks that I kind of roll with. But she's kind of started to incorporate a lot of those things into her style. She's very organized. She is very, time management driven, I guess would be the way to say it. I mean, she's really, really, really good at all that stuff. And since we have 2 kids now, she has the blessing of staying home with the kids while I do media for people. And so put yourself out there. Everyone on the planet has a channel now, like with these phones and with these podcasts and with these media tools, we have the chance to put ourselves out there and to ask people to support us and to support other people too. So if you're somebody out there that's, dealing with some of the struggles in your day-to-day life, whether it's business or at home with the kids or, living your dreams and it's hard and you feel like nobody believes in you, like, trust me, there's somebody on this show right now that you're watching that understands, because we're dealing with that stuff too. I mean, this is real life. And people, I think just because we want to be liked, we want to be given this unique thumbs up all the time and a pat on the back. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that, like you said, with social media, it becomes this place where you can kind of shield and shadow all of that stuff off and just put out stuff that makes you look good. And
Absolutely. So I think that that's kind of part of our point is doing this is, we're going to show kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is hard for me because I have always been someone who lives based on people's approval of me. Right. I want everybody to be happy with me. I am such a people pleaser. My husband gets on me all the time about it. So for me, this is a big step trying to, say, you know what, I'm not perfect. These are all of the struggles we're going through.
She really is perfect, though. Don't let anybody fool you. She is the perfect wife.
Ignore him.
But yeah, I think that
last weekend it was a different story. But
right.
It's about letting people know that, things are okay. Because I feel like for a long time, I didn't think it was okay to not be perfect. And I think that led to a lot of issues for myself. I at one time had the entrepreneurial mindset. Like I had wanted to start my own businesses. I had wanted to, I even had built out business plans when I was in my first graduate program, about trying to start a youth program for our kids after schools and, dealing with musicians that actually had something to say about the world and wanted to be involved. And, I let that I was told that, that was, there was no way I was going to be able to do it. It was this, it was that. And I let all that mindset just kind of go away. And I just ended up going back to school. I'm, a home health occupational therapist, which I do love. But again, it's, I work 12, 13-hour days some days, and if not more. And, I'm working for somebody else and I'm running to the ground. And so,
and that's hard. And sometimes it's important for us to kind of look at our imperfections and kind of shine a little light on there and be like, hey, listen, I mean, there's beauty in that, because we talk about the whole success thing. And it's like, I can't tell you, being someone that's performed at a lot of like motivational conferences and business events and all this kind of stuff, I kind of did all the business stuff backwards, and I kind of pursued my passion and my purpose first. And that's what these people advocate. Well, man, if you're passionate and you follow your purpose and you follow, the vision and, you're called to do something, that's what you got to do, and be willing to put everything on the line. And like, I am the embodiment of that, because I haven't worked a job in 17 years since I worked for an audio production company. And we toured all over the world. And even then I was still an independent contractor for that company. So if people didn't like me, I wasn't going to get gigs. And at the end of the day, my imperfections are the reasons why I've survived on this planet. The hyperactivity and the goofiness and the frickin' getting in people's faces and being excited about stuff. When I was a kid, people told me that that was a disorder.
Yeah.
People told me that my hyperactivity was a disorder, that I had a problem, that I needed medication, that there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't like the other kids. And now I show up at a conference like Sky, you and I met at a conference, and everyone's like, oh man, how do you have so much energy? I wish I had that much energy. Man, you're so driven and passionate and so full of life. And it's like, it's funny how those imperfections have now become my competitive advantage.
You just weren't built to sit still in a school classroom, and
Right.
that's not how you were designed. And that's how, unfortunately, that's how our education system is designed, is it's meant for one type of student.
Right.
In a lot of ways.
And in a lot of ways it is. And I think that it's just kind of operated one way too. And that's part of the reason why we kind of started drinking our coffee and talking about all this, is because this is something that a lot of people think, that a lot of people don't broadcast. And this is part of the reason why it's hard for moms, and it's hard for dads and husbands and, spouses and all this kind of stuff, because we do take on the daily pressures of going to work and building a business and hitting the gym and doing all these things. We're trying to reach certain goals, and there's setbacks, and some of those setbacks are caused by our imperfections, and some of those setbacks are caused by doubts, and we're almost cursed by our own minds sometimes. And that's so cool that we kind of all connected at a time where we needed an outlet. And so this outlet of us drinking coffee and talking about this, it's almost like therapy.
Absolutely.
To sit down and record and document your progress and put it out there and say, hey, listen, if you're dealing with these kinds of things, send us a message, share the stream. If you think of something that you want us to talk about, send us a message, share the stream. The pages are going to be up. They're going to be public. And it's something that we want to create a community of people that know that, listen, it's okay to be struggling. It's okay to have imperfections, because what you might look at as an imperfection, someone else looks at as an advantage. And so with the hyperactive thing, for me, comes this hyper focus that I've noticed as an entertainer and stuff like that, is the reason why I'm good at that, is because while I'm distracted and hyper on this side, when it's, showtime, I'm able to zero in and zone in and just get into this crazy Matrix style. I'm moving so fast at that point that the world is moving slow. And it's weird. It's like, I'm obviously have some kind of brain issue, because that's not normal. And the cool thing about it is people were like, oh man, that was so dope. Like what you said on stage, and you were playing your guitar, and that little song you made up about this person was so good. And I'm like, I honestly don't even remember anything that I said. I just did it. And so what we want to encourage people is to zero in on those things that you want to do, and that person that you want to become, and just, man, work so hard at it that it becomes who you are. It becomes what you are. And there's no avoiding down the line success if you're dedicated to becoming that. Whether it's a mom or a dad or a husband or a business owner, a CEO or a coffee company or a podcaster or whatever, it takes consistency and work, and it takes working on yourself in between. And it's the people who work on themselves in between that really show the consistency down the line.
Absolutely. And I think that it's a lot of work on relationships too. You know, like we're newlyweds, just married November this past year. So we've only been together, married for a couple of months now. Pat, I know that, you know, you haven't been married that long either, you know, and you've got the two little ones. So we're kind of
Mm-hmm.
both in different points in our marriages and in our lives that, you know, this
Yeah.
entrepreneurial thing makes it a little extra stressful, and it adds that extra complexity to it that, you know,
Yeah, it
some days
does.
are an extra struggle.
It does. And it's been really hard on my wife because, like I said, she's admittedly, too, not the entrepreneur type. She's not into it like I am. She's not into the culture like I am. Um, I think that if she hears one more Gary Vaynerchuk quote, she's going to freaking go crazy and dump a pot of coffee on my head, which is fine. It doesn't mean that she doesn't like the message or that she doesn't think it's positive. But I think that, you know, this is my path, and she supports that 100%. But that means she's got to do X amount of things to help me be successful, and that's a lot of work on her part. So I don't think that, you know, the stay-at-home moms don't get enough credit sometimes. Hopefully you stay-at-home moms understand that, you know, what you do is a job. It is a full-time position. In fact, it's beyond a full-time position. It's a 24/7 commitment. We got a newborn kid that's up all night some nights because she's just was born. So, you know, I don't even hear the kid sometimes. It's just terrible, but it's true. It's like, I don't hear it like my wife hears it instantly. The bottle's made and this and that. I'm like groggy, like getting up, and the baby's already being fed. But dude, that is the female mom instinct. That's what she's good at. Like
So
I'm not good at that. And I have the hyper focus thing, but it's like, that's a mom instinct. Like moms are good at that stuff. You can't teach that. That's
no,
just
not at
something
all.
moms have. And especially Sky and I know a lot of women in real estate and stuff. So you've got moms that got newborn kids that are up all night, that get up at 8 a.m. and now they're taking calls and doing wholesaling deals and investments in properties and loans and hard money and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I couldn't do it. I get to play with my toys and it's fun and like separate, you know, and I do this all in my house. So like the kids are usually in the other room. My wife's visiting family this weekend, but like it's hard. It's hard for
Mhm.
both of us. And we've been at each other's throats a little bit, but
Oh yeah, that happens with us too. With
coffee and
that
talking about it and doing these broadcasts and all this kind of stuff. I'm fortunate enough to the fact that like, man, I'm willing to do anything to do this stuff. And I've had to kind of shift what I do in from just music to this conversational marketing and this conversational building relationships with people, because this is what people need right now. And I think that that led us to this concept for this show of, I need this. I know there's some other dad that needs this too. There's some other mom that needs to hear this too. There's some other newlywed couple that's dealing with building a real estate business and working a job and trying to build a online presence and do all these things. And it's like, how are we going to do this? And everyone around you is probably like, you guys are crazy.
Absolutely.
oh
And,
yeah, there's been a lot of that stuff. But
and
to
guess
kind of
what? How many times have those people performed in front of 10,000 people? Probably 0 times. So
exactly.
you guys can message me if you got any questions.
I was just gonna go off of a point of kind of what you were saying about, you know, everybody has kind of their role and so forth. I mean, Kristen's not a mom yet, but she will be hopefully soon down the road. But you know, we have dogs and stuff like that, so they're almost like our children. But it does take a certain, you know, a certain individual to be able to be there to support someone who's in that type of
It
path
does.
that they're looking to take. And I can attest to this because Kristen is my second marriage, and the other marriage that I was in, there wasn't that support. You know, the support was there when the money was coming in. Like I had a pretty successful fitness business that I was running, which stuff from that is allowing me to put the money towards the businesses that we need now. But that support system wasn't there. And I don't know if it's just because it wasn't for that particular person, if she was just tired of me constantly working, whatever the case is. But you know, some people always say that, you know, no matter what, you know, it'll work out and stuff like that. The truth of the matter is that it won't sometimes. And you can't be afraid of that. Don't let someone else, even if you love them, if they've been with you for a while, if they become a, you know, a little bit of a bad influence to you where you can't be around them so much, or you're getting in fights too much, you know, you got to know when to cut that cord. And unfortunately that happened with me, with the past marriage. But with Kristen here, it definitely seems like things are a lot better. She's a lot more supportive. She actually gives a shit about helping me, knowing what I want to do. She sees the hours that I work, even though it doesn't seem like I'm working all the time. I am, trust me. I'm up at 5:30 every day, checking emails, checking messages, responding to people, all that stuff, trying to get LLCs up, trying to get email things built out, websites, you name it. It's all this different type of stuff. And if you don't have a good support system, you know, you're gonna be shit up a creek, man, because it's gonna be hard.
But it was an agreement that we consciously made, you know, that, you know, he was going to, I watched him get so frustrated with some of the jobs he was in where, you know, he was working for somebody else and he was putting so many hours in that were not paying off. Like he was just being, you know, beat into the ground. And we made the conscious decision that, you know, I was going to work and I was going to try and kind of keep us afloat while he started trying to build our empire. Because my job, it'll keep us okay. It'll keep us in a level place, but you know, it's what we want out of life and where we want to go is going to be a lot more him. And so we're both kind of, we've chosen our roles right now, and we have days that I want to wring his neck when I come home because I feel like he hasn't done enough, or, you know, and so he gets that a lot from me.
That's part of the deal. I mean, and I try to see it both ways too. Like I said, my wife's been visiting family this week because I've needed a lot of time to launch a bunch of different projects that I've been currently working on in my little media room. And she is super supportive, but with that comes, I've got to have a certain task list every day that kind of takes a little bit of a load off of her. So that kind of gave me some time to make a little task list of things that I can do every morning, afternoon, and night. Because we're both home and the kids are here at home and I'm running the business here at home. I can't afford right now. I don't have enough coming in to have like a media office. I don't have any VAs. I don't have any of that. Like I do all the work on my own. No help.
And that's admirable, man. I mean, a lot of people would probably be in your position and the struggle would happen. And then they just be like, well, screw this. This isn't worth it. And they've only been at it for, you know, a couple months and they just don't think it's going to be profitable.
They just don't. They need to understand that the profit is only going to come if you get good enough at the skill that you're able to produce income from it. Some people don't want to get good enough at the skill. They don't work on it. They don't work on it hard enough. And I think that's part of the lesson too is, dude, you can't just work like fitness. You can't just work out for 2 months and think you're going to be freaking Beachbody Ab Joe on the front of the freaking magazine cover.
That's true.
I'm guilty of that. I tend to give up, but.
And so, you know, I started playing music gigs and making posters for our band and stuff and playing little guitar songs in high school, which was 22 years ago when I was 15 years old. I turned 37 in February. And this is like all I wanted to do was like media and shows and production and all this. And when I went to college, fortunately, you know, my dad was a 4:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. accountant, you know, working. And my mom was home with us kids and worked really, really, really hard so that I could go to a tech school and learn how to use all these tools and record and produce and edit and put stuff out. And when I graduated from that school, like I said, I worked for a company in Las Vegas called Production Resource Group. PRG Audio is one of the largest suppliers in the world of audio systems for bands and arena stadium shows. We did Tom Petty. We did Madonna, Billy Joel, Elton John. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. One of the people we did that was a client was American Idol. And so we literally did exactly what we're doing, a singer on the microphone with a camera feed to NBC. And that was the focus, was that person singing along to like a karaoke track pretty much. And it was a song competition. And no one knew that that song competition was going to get as big as it did. And the
Right.
girl that won the year that I did it was Carrie Underwood. It was 2005 or 2000,
Wow.
Dang, dude.
2006 or something like that. And she's still a huge star. Why? Because she consistently shows up. Am I the biggest fan of like Carrie Underwood's music? Am I like a rah-rah fan? I mean, no. But that doesn't mean that there aren't songs that I know or that I'm not a fan of her or work ethic or whatever. That girl works really, really hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I,
You can
I
see-
think
you can
she's
tell
a
that
mom
people
and
show up.
stuff too. Yeah.
Mhm.
So the opportunity is there for you. You just gotta do it day in and day out, year after year after year after year. She could easily done that one album and been like, cool, I made it. And you know, I'm not gonna do anything else. But that's not her story. That's not her journey. It's a lifelong commitment in anything, whether it's marriage, business. Business, it's like a kid, like it's like a little child. You're trying to like grow up this business and have it provide for itself and for others. I mean, it's kind of like I'm raising my two girls and I want them to be able to provide for themselves and potentially provide for others one day, right? I mean, you want to be a productive member of society.
Exactly.
It's hard. And that comes with me trying to do the same thing. So there is frustration, you know. My kid Ella knows how to open doors now.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah. So if
How,
I don't
how scary is that?
so right. So if I don't put the gate up in the hallway, she'll walk right up to the door and walk in while I'm like right in the middle of a freaking voiceover or a rap line for some company that's paying me to make them stuff. And it's
Hey,
like,
you never know that that little baby voice that goes in there could be the next viral thing. You
it
never
could be
know.
the next viral thing. I'm sure she'll join us on an episode in the future too. But what we're talking about here is just life is going to happen. Number one. Number two, you only get one life. Your one
Absolutely.
life is going to happen and you only get one of them. So like, what are you waiting for? Yeah, like you said, you guys are building your empire. I know you messaged me that you're reading Elena Cardone's book. I love Elena Cardone. She's actually, I would consider her a personal friend of mine. I think that she is a personal friend of anybody that wants to be successful. I saw a speech she posted the other day, and she literally said, hey, you know, I've been around all the big dogs and all the famous people, and those aren't my people. You guys are my people. And they were putting on a free event somewhere like San Francisco or Las Vegas or something, a free event for people to help them, you know, grow their business and to give them the financial advice that they need to succeed. How awesome is that? Those are the kind of people I want to be around. That's why I chased Grant and Elena down so hard to get on that stage, because those are the kinds of people that I want to build my life around, not people that tell me that that's impossible.
Absolutely. That's been one of the things that, you know, has been a big change for me, is that, you know, I've been trying to pay more attention to who are the people that are going to be the right influences for me, not only in just, you know, being a good person, a good human, but also, you know, how to support my husband who is an entrepreneur. And Elena Cardone, I mean, her book is amazing. It's just, you know, she goes even through having exercises of things to actually sit down and work through. And, you know, it's been, you know, I've been taking my time going through it because I'm really trying to take in, you know, and understand how it is that she has become the person that she has, and how she supports her husband, how she supports her family, how she has built and protects her entire empire, you know, from people who have come after, you know, and put down her and her husband. And, you know, like, she's very inspiring. And, you know, I've been doing a lot more of trying to find the Elena Cardones, the, you know, people that are really focused and the type of person that I want to be. And I think that that's a big place of where to start, is just, you know, having your news feeds, your media sites and everything being filled with that type of thing, rather than, you know, the not so, you know, oh, so-and-so, or the complaining, or, you know, but the things that you want to aspire to, you know, those things
Right.
that want to push you further.
Yeah, just to go off point on that too, we live in such a society where everything is digital. I mean, you want a question answered, you ask your phone, ask Alexa, Google, whatever the case is. Those people who really want to be successful and really trigger their brain, read some books. Like, there are so many untapped potentials locked away in books that people nowadays don't even know about, especially youth. Like, you ask a kid what a book is, they probably don't even know. Like, oh, can I look it up on my iPhone? Like, I don't even know what that means.
Right.
Like, we literally have been building our book collection for the last like month, and we've got like 15 books here, and they're all about entrepreneurship, taxes, business, mindset, all that stuff. And everything that I've been reading, like, you cannot find that. Like, you don't find real stuff that you can really put. Are there some podcasts and some forms of digital media that does help it? Of course there is. There are some smart people, but I feel like a majority of people are missing out on so much via old school books.
And I think
Right.
we've been doing a lot of, you know, you look at the role models that you see, the people that are doing what you want to do, the people that are in the place that you want to be, you know, and every time one of them mentions a book, we're on Amazon and we're getting that thing ordered, you know, because we're building up, you know, we may not have gotten to yet because we do have quite a collection going, but, you know, like Rafael Vargas, you know, we were just at his event last
I
weekend.
love
And
Raphael.
he's fantastic. And, you know, that was another thing that I decided that I wanted to learn what he was doing. So he took me down to one of his conferences so I could understand it more. And Raphael was amazing. You know, he kind of joked because I was the one who let my husband, go down to one of his conferences the weekend before our wedding. But, you know, every book that he mentioned during, you know, that he found as big inspirations for him, we were right on, and we had those ordered and we had them waiting for us by the time we got home from Tampa. So
Right. And I think that kind of goes down the line of what I was saying is it doesn't matter. Like, if you're working a job and you're paying the bills and you got health insurance, you go on vacation with the kids and you're happy, dude, you're a success. Like,
Mhm.
there's no rules to success.
No.
I think that can kind of get lost in this entrepreneurial, I'm trying to get better, I'm trying to get around better people. I think that can make people take that the wrong way as, oh, well, you're being hurtful, or you're saying that, you know, you don't need the friends that you have. We've supported you forever. It's like, that's not what I'm saying, dude, actually, at all. What I'm saying is, if I want my business to produce a certain result, and if I want to be a person who's in a business that's achieving a certain result, I've got to do the work in between that gray space. Like, I'm a visual learner. So if I'm here in personal development and here in business, and Elena and Grant are up here, what work do I need to do to fill in that gray area? What action do I need to take every day? How consistent do I need to be on a daily business with X amount of tasks to get to that level? Like, just because I played on the stage with them doesn't mean I'm at that level yet. I think that would be fake if I said that I was. I'm not there. I got a lot of work to do. But
Exactly.
I mean, we all have a lot of work to do on ourselves. And I think that shying away from it or taking the easy way out, or, you know, in my world, like being an entertainer and being someone who produced productions for people, I didn't get weekends off. Like, I haven't taken, it's Sunday morning and we're working.
Right.
Like, I never took weekends off for a long time. How do you shut it off, man? Can't you just shut it off? I don't think that you can.
No, you cannot.
People
There
are
are
like,
times
oh
where
man, what about like life work balance? I mean, there is no balance.
there are times where if you want to take a small break, I mean, you can afford to do that if you think you can, but at the same time, some adage that I've been kind of living by a little bit is, for all the time that I take off, quote unquote, or I'm not doing something to better myself, you know, there's somebody right behind me who's literally ready to just like take me and throw my ass to the side and be like, "Oh, you missed your chance, man. Like, you need to
Right.
be on top of stuff." I mean, don't drive yourself into the ground so much to where you're sick, or, you can't sleep, you have insomnia or stuff like that.
No,
Like,
that's stupid.
understand yourself, but also realize there are people that are as hungry as you. Some might even be hungrier, and they're just waiting for you to mess up, and they will push you aside because society doesn't care, man. They do
Now,
not care.
don't get him wrong. He does make time for me.
Yes,
Right.
I do.
You
I
know,
do.
and one of the points of things that we do, my family lives 5.5, 6 hour drive from us. And one of the things when we actually go to visit them that we started doing is listening to podcasts together. And one of them that we've been listening to has been the Date Your Wife podcast by
Garrett White. You know that, the Warrior Way, right? You know him, don't you?
Yeah, I like Garrett.
There you go.
We may not make it so that we don't have a ton of time together, but even if it's me coming home and I'm doing my paperwork while he's sitting and doing work, we're at least able to talk and bounce ideas off each other. When we do try to make it a point to make it so that we have at least one date every week, whether it's a stay-at-home date, and just sit and watch a movie just to relax a little bit together, or it's actually to go and do something. But we do try and make at least that time for each other.
Yeah, don't lose any disconnect. If you have someone who cares about you, if you're married, if you're in a relationship or stuff, make sure that you do take time to, spend time with them, because otherwise that distance, it will continue to grow. And then
Right. And when I said there is no balance, what I meant was like your clock doesn't stop running inside your head, right? Your deadlines that you make for yourself never turn off. Okay, so here's an example. I know this guy, his name is Coach Michael Burt. He's been on Grant Cardone's Ask the Pro. He was on the 10X2 stage, like right before I performed on the lunch break. Michael Burt was speaking. He's phenomenal. You guys should check him out. His program's called like the Monster Producer Program, but he gives a ton of stuff out for free. Anyway, Coach Michael Burt said he was hanging out with Tim Grover, who was Michael Jordan's personal trainer for a long time, who, again, another person I met at 10X. And he said Michael Jordan had two scorecards. One was the scorecard that the team judged him on, and two was the scorecard that he judged himself on. And the scorecard that he judged himself on, he never got a perfect score.
No.
Ever. No matter how well he played, no matter whether he had I don't know, what's the term, triple-double, or hit a record number of three-pointers, there was always something that he could have done better.
Right.
And while the team, he probably broke every record that exists for the Chicago Bulls. Maybe some of those records have changed. I mean, times have changed a little bit, but he's still the greatest player of all time.
Mm-hmm.
He is the Muhammad Ali of basketball. And his scorecard that he judged himself on was impossible to get a perfect score.
But I think that's how you have to be. I mean, I don't think
totally.
If you don't see any growth in needing any growth in yourself, if you see yourself as perfect, first, I think that you're lying to yourself, because there's always something, but that doesn't, if you can't look inside yourself and see those areas, then you aren't going to be able to grow, and you're going to be stuck at that one level. And
right.
Look at look at your buddy Grant and Elena. Like what's his big thing? It's 10x. He makes he's made almost $1 billion with his real estate investments and Cardone Capital and stuff. And he says he's not finished. He wants it to be $2 billion.
Yeah, he could literally sit on the beach in Miami and do nothing for the rest of his life and be completely set. And what does he do? He gets up, gets his wife in the jet, and they fly around now doing free events, teaching people how to be better in life, showing people that there's still room for growth, showing people that there's hope and that there's a place for their dream to be successful. I mean, who does that? Exactly. I don't know anybody else but that guy that does that.
Exactly. Warren Buffett too. He's still investing in all of his stuff. You think he just quit because he's worth billions of dollars? He's still investing. He's still doing all that stuff.
And it doesn't mean that if you're a listener, again, it doesn't mean that you have to do those things.
No.
But what we are advocating is to bring your best self every day, to bring your best every day. The cool thing about what I do right now in building this media business is that I do get to be home with my kids and my wife all day, every day. Now, that's a double-edged sword sometimes, okay? But at the same time, I don't know And I've had so many dads tell me this, or you shouldn't do that. You should get an office, blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't know any other dads that spend as much time with their newborn kids as me. I've never met anyone because they're always at work.
Mm-hmm.
My work happens in the house. Instead of, oh, it's so hard, kids are loud, this is such an annoyance. I've learned, especially over the last week since it's been really quiet and I'm launching all these projects, hey, you know, it's a blessing that these kids get to be home with their dad. There are dads that go across seas and sacrifice their freaking lives so that I can do what I love to do in this country.
Absolutely. You know,
And there are moms at home who maybe potentially love what we're doing, drinking their coffee with us, that are like, you know what? I'm going to hold it down because I'm going to support my man because I got to get it done. Nobody's going to get it done for me. Those are the kinds of people that we are trying to connect with.
Absolutely. And those moms that are staying home with their kids, you know, it's still the same thing. You know, you're always trying to better they're always trying to better themselves
Right.
for their kids. You know, they're the ones that their kids are, they're their gatekeepers. They're their biggest role models. They're everything to them. And, you know, so that continuing to grow, you know, moms is probably one of the biggest and most important jobs that we can possibly have. And so it's, you know, these moms, so many of them are doing so much at home, you know, and so, and especially the way that the things that are happening in the world around us, you know, they get even more responsibility put on them. You know, they've got to worry a lot more.
We'll we'll just put a public announcement in here too. Fellas who are the stay-at-home dads as well, don't worry, you guys are you are well thought of as well. So there are some women out there who are absolutely killing it, and dad has to hold the fort down. So don't think we're excluding you guys.
And the reason why I bring that stuff up is because that's how my household is. Like, I am kind of, quote unquote, a stay-at-home dad. It's just I happen to have a little media room in my house. We left living by the beach so that we could scale down our lifestyle so that we could afford to have a home that I could do this out of. And so again, when you follow your calling and you follow your vision, you run into the right people. And there's a reason why we met at that conference, man. And it's because we both needed each other to get to the next level. And this, what we're doing today, talking about it, acknowledging it, making it public, saying this is where we want to go, that's a huge step, is declaring what you want and where you're going. Because like I said, we get one shot at this whole thing. And so I'm not going to spend it, you know, worrying about anything but what I got to do to over deliver for the people that are supporting me. And whether that's in my marriage or whether that's my kids or any of that stuff. Like, even though some of those things are hard, they're blessings. I know there's tons of dads who message me all the time and they're like, man, I wish I could have been home with my kids. All I did was work for 30 years. And, you know, I mean, my dad wasn't home during the day. He worked for 30 years, 4:30 to 10 p.m. so that he could provide me the opportunity to go get trained, to get the skills that I need to pursue my dreams. And while it got hard, we kind of butted heads for a little bit because he didn't understand my like entertainment dreams and stuff like that, man. Like, at the end of the day, he didn't hand me anything. He could have easily bought me cameras and laptops and guitars and microphones and Pro Tools rigs, and it wouldn't have helped me at all, because I wouldn't have been so fired up to get it done that I was willing to do anything to make it work.
Right. I
So,
100% agree with that.
And I think that's what we want to advocate, is that we kind of want to light a fire up under people. We want people to drink their morning coffee and realize that, dude, there is so much opportunity out there for everyone, especially with the internet now, that you can literally turn anything into a business, turn anything into a success. You can take your dreams and turn them into reality. And that comes from experience, because the people that we quote, I've played on stage and played at the events with Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone and Ed Milet and Tim Grover and Tim Story and Michael Burt. The people that I quote that are coming out of my mouth that fly all over and coached Michael Jordan and run the biggest business events on the world have all supported me going to the next level. So I owe it not only to myself, not only to my wife and kids, but to the people that put me on to not give up and to keep going and to adapt, because that's the only way it's going to work long term. Doing the same thing over and over and over again is great. You get really good at that process, but like, what's next? You still have to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it's competitive. It's competitive, but I don't ever think about the competition. I know I'm unique enough that there is no competition for me because I have multiple skills across the audio channel, the video channels that I'm in doing it all. Like my friend Gary Vaynerchuk advocates, like, dude, just be everywhere. Do a podcast, do songs, do events, speak, be an MC, be a musician, literally do everything. Be everywhere. And I think that that's what I want to put out there is that, man, if you're driving to work or something and you love your job, like, you made it.
Mm-hmm.
Great. But if you're sitting there and you're like, man, this guy's kind of firing me up a little bit because I don't like doing this. I wish I was with my kids more. What kind of income do I need to make to level up that XY factor? What do I need to do to get to a point where I can leave this job and be home with my kids and get my own health insurance and not rely on this company and not rely on anybody but me to produce?
Mm-hmm.
And it's possible. It's possible. Grant Cardone freed himself to the point where he can fly around on a plane with his kids. How cool is that?
Pretty amazing.
That's pretty amazing. You know,
One
so
day, man. One day.
Yeah.
On different levels, I think that we're both successful in that area in different levels. I think maybe I've learned a lot of these things from those guys. And I don't give myself enough credit sometimes because I am doing it. I don't have a plane that we're flying on, but, you know, my kids get to see their dad all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, being grateful for that is something maybe I could work on instead of thinking, oh, it's loud, I need to do this, I need to do that, blah, 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 blah. Maybe enjoying those moments a little more is important too.
I think it's very easy to get bogged down with the, you know, when you start getting into this mindset of, you know, getting frustrated with everything because you keep looking at that next,
Right.
you know, and you have to keep looking at that. But at the same time, you do have to take that minute and just be grateful for something. You know, that's one of the things that we're starting to try and, you know, put into like our daily routine too is, you know, what is that thing that I'm grateful for today? You know, what today has, you know, is that one thing that I can hold on to and be like, you know what, these other things may be really hard right now, but I've got this one thing right now that I know is going to help carry me through, you know?
Right.
And I know for me, you know, that's my husband. You know, starting this podcast today, I had a massive anxiety attack last night and he sat with me and he talked me through and he calmed me down because I'm not somebody to put myself out there. You know, so I'm very grateful that I have somebody who is willing to sit with me when I'm in that moment and just help me to find my center.
With the on top of that, I'll say what I'm grateful for in a moment, but to go off that, Kristen is not a person who does like to put herself out there. But what I would tell people is, regardless if you are afraid to put yourself out there or not, if you do it, it's one of the best feelings that you can possibly have. Like, and you're already leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else who's might be thinking something like this, but they're too nervous to do it, or they're afraid of being made fun of, or whatever the case is. Have a plan, obviously, but at the same time, don't be afraid to do it. Like, regardless, have a small plan, but go ahead and do it. Like, if someone doesn't like you for what you have to say, or they don't like the way you look or whatever, you know what they can do? They can X out, they can stop listening. Like, people have that choice. Whereas like back in, you know, the 40s and 50s, you know, there was one TV show on TV. You know, when you wanted to watch TV, you had to watch that. Now you have the option of listening to who it is you want to listen to. So don't be afraid of, people not understanding you, or they might poke fun at you or whatever the case is. And for me, that's kind of what I'm grateful for in my own right. Is I'm grateful for not being afraid of stuff and actually having an attitude of where I don't care what people think about me. It's the fact of, I'm going to say something. If you don't like it, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. That's totally fine. But if you're always worried about that consistently all the time, you're going to stay where you're at, and people are going to pick on you because you don't stand up for, what you believe in. You don't have a backbone, whatever the case is. And
Right.
to me, that's just unfair stuff. So definitely, if you have something you want to say, don't be afraid to say it. Competition is good. Having conversations is good. It's fine. It's the people that actually decide to do it that are actually the successful people. We wouldn't know about any of these people if they didn't say, all right, screw this, I got something to say. Like Gary Vee. What is some of the stuff he says? Like, he's a very colorful person. He does not care. And he's got a lot of pull in a lot of places, and he believes in what he says. So why not be that type of person?
And as someone who's like met these people, I think that sometimes you look them up online and you're like, oh, that guy's so flamboyant, or he doesn't understand what I'm going through, or this and that. It's like, man, if you really look back, most of the struggles that I'm dealing with right now, or that Sky and Kristen are dealing with right now, are the same struggles that Cardone's dealt with, that Gary and his parents dealt with. Gary's parents are from Belarus, which I think is Russia. I don't know. Don't quote me. I'm not a geography gen, but I know that they're immigrants. They came here with nothing. And Gary says this a lot, that he got this Jets jersey that his mom made him when he was a kid, because they couldn't really like afford an actual Jets jersey. And he loved that jersey so much. And it's just, again, this whole gratitude thing, I don't practice it enough sometimes. And when I do, I'm happier, because like I've got all these opportunities because I worked really, 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 really hard. Like, I dreamed of being in this position 10 years ago when I was, playing my guitar at the bars. Like, man, I really want to do this and this and this. I want to make an impact. I want to help people get their message out there. But how am I going to have the experience to show that I know what I'm talking about? Nobody wants to listen to someone that doesn't have any experience anymore. That's a big thing online, is people getting online and saying all this success stuff and they don't have any experience. And what I will tell you is, make the sacrifices to get that experience. Get around those people. These people are accessible if you access that inner ambition that you have to go to the next level. There's a next level in every single person that's listening to this. And after you drink your Outsider Nation coffee, you'll be able to achieve that level.
Absolutely.
How about that? That was a great guru.
That was a good one.
I like that.
Very
one.
nice.
That's good.
You gurus are in trouble. But anyway, I think this is a great way to kind of send off our audience and thank them for listening, and thank you guys for putting yourself out there and for allowing me to be a part of this, and to grow this vision and this mission of opening up to people and saying that, hey, listen, we all got struggles, the moms and the dads and the hardworking people out there and the business owners and the CEOs. The common thing that we all have is coffee. And once you get down to the bottom of that cup, you got to go out and you got to produce.
Amen,
and so
dude.
what level are you going to be producing on? What level do you want to reach in anything? Man, when I was working at the pizza shop, here's a great example. When I started working at the pizza shop, I was the guy that swept up all the pizza droppings and the people in the dining room and answered the phones. That was it. Answered the phones, took orders, and swept up the dining room, right? I got so good at answering the phones and sweeping up the dining room that I eventually started making the garlic bread and the salads. I got so good at answering the phone, cleaning the dining room, and making garlic breads and salads that eventually I started making the pizzas too. So if it got really busy, I would take calls, clean the dining room, haul the plates in the back, wash the dishes, make pizzas. I literally got to a point where I was doing everything. And then one week, this guy that was the manager was like, hey man, how about you come in here and sing some of that music this weekend? You come in, bring your little instrument and kind of walk around dining room, and we'll add some overtime pay to your paycheck. And that was the first time I ever got paid to play music. Why? Because I was willing to do the jobs that nobody wanted to do, the better than anybody that didn't want to do it, to get to a point where now I'm actually getting paid to like walk around and make up songs for people. Something that people told me was impossible to get paid for. In fact, even that manager told me it was kind of a crazy idea until we started doing it. And the dining room was eventually so full of people that wanted to hear me do that, that was like my first ever music gig. So I'm here to tell you from experience, there was a time where I packed up all my stuff at 30 years old and moved to California with my guitar and did the same thing. I sang at all the farmers markets in California for $40 on the side of the road, starting in 2014. And by 2018, I was on the main stage at Mandalay Bay in front of 10,000 people at Grant Cardone's event, 10X Growth Con 2. Why? Because I knew that if I was willing to play as hard as I possibly could on the side of the street corner for practically no money, especially with all the experience I had as a production manager and all this, I swallowed all of that and put it all on the line. And now here we are today with all kinds of world experience, and we're starting a whole new message. I don't even have an instrument with me. So it's out there. You guys, the impact is out there. The dream that you want is possible. The life that you want is possible. And the people that are telling you that it's not possible, they're drinking the wrong coffee. Okay? Plain and simple. Because we believe in you. Boom. I need a refill. Sky and Kristen, what do you think?
I need a refill myself because I'm completely out as well.
Good times. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure to subscribe. All the links will be included in the description. We love you, and we'll see you next time.